So this reading pack has been prepared at a time when there's a huge new interest in the whole field of early childhood development. By early childhood development, we mean, of course we mean preschool, but we mean so much more besides. The words early childhood development are intentionally all-encompassing. They cover a very, very big field of multiple sectors of health, education, water, sanitation, social protection, child protection. In fact, any sectoral engagement with young children, mothers, fathers, families, and the broader context in which the child thrives are all relevant to a concept of early childhood development. And the other feature of early childhood development as a concept is that it covers a huge age span. Again, when I started in this field, early childhood meant mostly the years just before school. And it's now come to be appreciated that to have a really strong grip on the opportunities for strengthening the quality of children's lives and outcomes for children, we've got to think in a very much broader age span. So yes, the years just before school, I'm thinking about readiness for school, but that's the end point of early childhood, and early childhood spreads through the period of the newborn child and the child through to the age of 3, just as important, crucial opportunity for delivering better outcomes for children. But increasingly people are thinking even earlier than that and saying if we're really going to take this field seriously, we have to think about the child in utero, the growing child from conception onwards, and indeed the mother's status at the point they conceive, because the evidence is clear that the mother's status, their nutritional status, their health status, their well-being has direct impacts on the well-being of the young infant. So early childhood development is a very broad concept, and that's the starting point for this reading guide. We're now at a very interesting time in history in the development of policies and services in the field of early childhood development, because there's a momentum gained over the last few years that early childhood development really must be a priority for all countries, and that's reflected in the Sustainable Development Goals, where unlike the Millennium Development Goals, which were all about early childhood but never really mentioned early childhood explicitly, the Sustainable Development Goals explicitly talk about ensuring that all girls and boys have access to quality early childhood development, care and pre-primary education so they're ready for primary education. And that's expressed as well in specific targets, which are going to be very challenging for governments to try to achieve. But this is the point, that we are at a turning point now where we're no longer just talking about this topic. We've got already now the accumulated evidence. We know how much can be achieved through high quality early childhood programs, whether they be for mothers and babies or for preschool children, whether they be about health initiatives or about early learning initiatives. The evidence is out there. We can always need more evidence, but the evidence is incredibly strong now and reasonably well geographically distributed. And that's reflected in my choice of readings in the reading pack, because I included a study from Mozambique, which is one of the few sub-Saharan African countries where there's a good piece of evidence just demonstrating the power of this field. So the evidence is there, and as also in the readings in the reading pack, what's been very interesting, the way economists have translated that into cost effectiveness models about the power of early investment in terms of delivering good outcomes. What I'm also keen to always emphasize is that the reason for policies and services in this area isn't just about delivering human capital outcomes as the economists' modelling would see it, but it's also about fundamental human rights, children's rights under the UN Convention. That's why I've included General Comment 7, which is the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child's guidance on this field, which emphasises that every child has a right to development, to survival and development, to early education and so forth. And that's an important principle because I think it's essential to keep a very strong lens on issues around social justice and equity in this field, especially when many governments have very strong goodwill towards policy development in this area, but the challenges of delivery are huge and issues of equitable access are paramount. At the moment, we're failing badly in that respect in terms of ensuring that every child who has needs in this area gets access to services. So in this reading pack, I've also included readings that identify some of the many challenges that are faced in delivering high quality policies and services for children across the sectors and across the age range. And let's be honest about it, this is not an easy task, and it's not a uniform task. Some countries in some regions of the world have made good progress in developing comprehensive services, and there are models that can be turned to in that respect. But countries vary hugely, and it's not just to do with their state of economic development, how far they've gone along this road towards a more integrated, holistic set of services for children. There are numerous challenges that faced. One of the biggest challenges is around capacity building, developing a workforce with the skills, again, depending on what the sector is we're talking about, skills in early learning, skills in health service, working with mothers, whatever it is. Capacity building is huge. Development of quality programs is a challenge in itself. It's sometimes very depressing to visit countries which may have extremely well articulated policies in the field, but when you go and visit the programs, it's really troubling to see the weakness of the quality that is actually being delivered. I know best the programs in the field of preschool education, the years before school, and sometimes I get distressed to see just how low quality that service it can be, and I worry about what we're really doing for the world's children if we are often, in the worst case scenario, delivering low quality preschool education for children who will then transfer into low quality primary schooling. This is not a good model for the way forward. So quality development, capacity building, obviously finance is in the background, and creative models have to be thought about to achieve increased high quality services. Some countries are moving towards a mixed model of providers, so not relying just on government services, but looking towards the charity sector, the NGO sector, the churches sometimes are involved in some countries, and in some countries the private for-profit sector has grown up as being very significant. I've worked a lot in some areas of India on that topic, and there are opportunities there, but there are also challenges if you're involving the private sector, particularly equity challenges where fees are involved and so on. So these are just some of the challenges, and then an overarching challenge for all of this, which takes us back to the core goal of this guide, this reading pack, is this sense of how far can we go in achieving this holistic mission. The concept of integration, of integrated service is a really important vision. But I think in practice, especially in the next period, there's going to need to be a lot of pragmatism around how to make small incremental steps in working in the right direction for the world's children. Country by country, region by region, because each is different, infrastructures are different, governance systems are different, finance are different, and the opportunities are different. And if I was working in a particular country to start trying to move things forward, I'd be asking questions about where are the entry points where things could be improved? What are the existing services that maybe could be piggybacked on to strengthen the quality of early childhood development? Because in many cases, in many countries of the world, it isn't realistic to imagine developing a complete new system. We've got to work from where we are. And finally, remembering that in the field of early childhood development, we're dealing with small children, we're dealing with the people who care for them, mostly their mothers, fathers, others in the family, and others in the community who work on behalf of children, that is an enormous energy of skill and resource that can be harnessed. And it doesn't have to be just a top-down model of delivery of services, but rather trying to harness the energy of people to make the best for children.